Hello everyone, it's Nina and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing the end of the year book tag. So now that it's November, I figured we're close enough to the end of the year for me to do this tag and kind of think about the last set of books that I'm going to be reading before the New Year's. Before we go into the tag proper, I did want to talk about some of my reading stats for the year as a whole so far. So as of recording this video, I have read 61 books in the year 2022, and my average rating has been a 3.88, which kind of shows that my reading year has been good to medium. I feel like this year I have read a lot of books that I've really enjoyed, but I also think overall I've gotten more of like a discerning eye when it comes to reading, which just means that there's a lot of books that I don't necessarily feel the need to give them a 4 stars if I even moderately enjoy them. I'm much more willing to put them a little bit lower, like a 3 or 3.5, if I don't think they're going to really stick with me in the long run. And I definitely think there are a good chunk of books in my reading history from the last year that I don't know if I'll really have them in like my long-term memory. They were definitely books that I enjoyed and I thought were good in the moment, but yeah, they're not something that I necessarily think I'm going to be coming back to in the future. Talking about these genres, the biggest genre that I read from is historical fiction, followed by fantasy. Historical fiction does make a lot of sense. I really like historical fiction, particularly queer historical fiction. Fantasy is a little bit more shocking to me, mostly because I don't really feel like I read a lot of traditional high fantasy work. More so stuff that has like magical elements in it that has like a fantasy as like a subcategory. Talking about subgenres, I also categorize all of the like subgenres I put in myself. And the biggest one I have with 30 books is LGBT, which I think is definitely in line with my interest. Obviously, I would prefer it to be even higher. I also don't have like exact statistics in terms of if all of those 30 books were also written by LGBT authors. I think there might be 1 or 2 that, just based on the information I have about them, I'm not 100% sure what they identify as. But I definitely think for the vast majority of them, they are like own voices written by LGBT authors with LGBT stories. The last statistic I wanted to talk about is where I'm getting my books from. And this is pretty evenly split between getting my audiobooks through Libby and then using my library to get my physical books. Those two are around like a 35%, and then slightly lower is reading books from my own owned library. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into the questions in the proper end of the year tag. The first question is, are there any books that you started that you have to finish by the end of the year? And my answer is simply no. I'm not really one of those people that has like a long book that's kind of lingering for month to month to month. I usually finish any book that I start reading within the like 2 to 3 weeks that I pick it up. It's very rare that I have a book that lingers for a really long period of time. And at this point, I don't have any books that I am not planning on finishing within the next couple weeks. The next question is, are there any autumnal books that you are going to have to transition into the end of the year? And I do have one of those, that is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is a domestic thriller that from the cover you can see is set on a snowy mountain, and I had put this on my November TBR. I'll probably read it during the later half of the month or the beginning of December. The next question is, are there any new releases that you're still waiting for? So I am 99% sure that my wife bought me the Golden Terrace duology for my birthday, and they are coming out on November 15th. And by that, I mean that the pre-order ends on November 15th, so I actually don't know when the shipping date is or if I'm even going to get them before the end of the year. But I'm pretty sure those are the last books that I'm going to be waiting for from this year. The next question is 3 books that you want to read by the end of the year. The first one of those I have here, which is Elektra by Jennifer Saint. This is another Iliad retelling. I know, take a shot every time I say Iliad retelling on my channel. Although actually I think this is more of a post-Trojan War story, so more of an Odyssey retelling. And this follows Elektra, who is one of the daughters of Agamemnon, and sort of a betrayal that happens in her city. I previously read Ariadne by this same author earlier in the year, and I really enjoyed it. And I've definitely been clamoring to pick this up, and I finally checked it out of the library so I could have that final nudge to get me to start it. Another book I really want to read is Kiss and Tell by Adib Khorram. It's honestly kind of a little homophobic that I haven't read this yet, especially since I really enjoyed Adib Khorram's other 2 books. I think the main reason why I haven't picked this one up yet is because I just have been a little bit burnt out from all of the queer YA books I was reading earlier on in the year. But I'm really excited to read this book. I've heard it's very different from his other 2 books, obviously because he doesn't have Darius as his main character. But I'm still really excited to see what his writing style is like and what his character development is in these books. Another book I mentioned in my November TBR was A Restless Truth by Freya Marsk. I'm really excited to read this. It feels insanely targeted to me, being a lesbian historical romance. I'm probably going to wait until I can get the audiobook from my library for this one. I'm still trying to decide if I want to buy the hardback versions of this series or just get them when they come out in paperbacks. And because I don't want to have a mismatched set, I don't want to buy the hardcover of A Restless Truth and then get the paperback versions of the other ones. So I'm just kind of holding off for now until I can decide which I want to buy. because I really, really enjoyed the first one in this series, and I think if I like this one, I'm definitely going to want to collect them and add them to my permanent library. And the last book I'm going to mention in this category is the third volume of the Scum Villain Self-Saving System. This also leads me into the next question on the list, which was any books that you think will shock you and end up being a favorite by the end of the year. And I'm putting the third volume of the Scum Villain Self-Saving System in this list because I have heard that the third volume by far is considered like the best out of the three. A lot of people have said that this one really blew them away, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in it. I'm going in kind of blind, but I really hope that this will be kind of like the push to make this series like really click for me. The other two volumes I gave a 4 stars to, and I'm hoping that this one will be at least a 4.5 or a 5 star. I guess comparing the two MXTX series I've read so far, I feel like I do prefer a Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, but this book could come out of left field and end up being my favorite out of all of them. So I'm very excited to read this and very hopeful that I will really enjoy it. And the last question for the end of the year book tag is, have you made any reading plans for next year? My answer is yes, because I am a compulsive planner and I love planning out video ideas. Most of these are going to be themed reading vlogs that I'm going to do in the future. Also, for more long-term videos, I want to read a bunch of books in the same genre so I can do recommendation videos in the future. I also would love to do a video similar to my Crimson Peak video of reading books that have very, very similar premises and kind of comparing and contrasting them. I have a couple like overarching ideas, but at the same time, I don't know exactly like when all of these books are going to like come about. So I don't necessarily have all of my TBRs for the next year planned out already. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to answer any or all of these questions down below. I am wondering, I guess, specifically what books are on your TBR for the end of the year. But anyway, that is it from me today. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!